Hey, John Ty here, and welcome to this webinar with my friend Tom Corson-Knowles. I can see there's quite a few people here already. So first things first, a little bit of admin. Type in a 1 if you can hear me. And Tom, if you could just say something, and type in a 2 if you can hear Tom.
Hello, everyone, and welcome.
Okay, so we'll wait for that to come through in chat. Meanwhile, oh, and the other thing is, yeah, just so Mary Jane says 1, so you can hear me, and a 2 from Jean. That's great. A 2 from Mary Jane, good. And type in a 3 to let us know if you can see Tom's opening slide, which is obviously how to crack the code. And as soon as we know that you've got all of that, I will introduce Tom to those of you who don't know him already. I'm sure a lot of you know Tom. But okay, great. Thank you, Mary Jane. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Jill. Lots of J's. Great. Okay, and there's quite a few people coming on. Okay, so Tom, I'll do the intro, and then I'll hand across to you, and I'll just kind of sit quiet in the background, keep an eye on the chat, but shout if you need me for anything. So Tom is somebody, as I say, I'd be surprised if you haven't heard of Tom already. Tom is one of the top names in Amazon and Kindle publishing in particular. He's one of the few people who's been doing this and teaching this longer than I have. And he's very much somebody that I trust, because I remember I started learning about online marketing back in 2009, but it wasn't until 2012 that I began learning about Kindle publishing specifically. And Tom's books were one of my sort of go-to resources when I first started to learn about Kindle publishing. Tom's, I'll just give you some highlights of because if I give you Tom's whole CV, we could be here a while. But Tom started as an entrepreneur at the age of 13. Started his first business, which is always a good sign. Entrepreneurs they're supposed to start young. And by the time he graduated from Indiana University Kelley School of Business at 22, he was earning a full-time income from his first successful business, which he started in his dorm room. Since then, Tom's published multiple #1 best-selling Kindle books. Tom is also the founder of TCK Publishing, which is an international book publisher, and it specializes in marketing. And Tom works with both fiction and non-fiction authors and helps them get their messages and their stories out to literally millions of readers all around the world. Tom's also the founder of the Publishing Profits podcast show, where he interviews best-selling authors, literary agents, publishers, marketers, and creative people, which is really important as well. That's a fantastic way of staying up to speed with all of the latest things that are going on in the marketplace, talking to people at the very top. So Tom's got tons of experience, both himself personally as an entrepreneur, as a writer, as a successful author on Amazon, but also he's got tons and tons of experience with the many thousands and thousands of authors that he's worked with over many years now. So you're in very, very good hands. I will stop talking now and I will hand you across to Tom. So Tom, thanks for being here. Thank you for coming and doing this presentation for us, and over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John, for the great introduction. And thank you all for being here tonight to learn more about how to become a best-selling author and how to really make a difference and an impact with your message and your story that you have to share with the world. So tonight we're going to talk about how to crack the code to becoming a #1 best-selling author on Amazon. And this is a big deal, right? Because if you're an author, if you've got an important message or story to share with people, you have to actually sell books in order to do that. Right? It's not enough just to write a good book or a great book. You actually have to get the word out and find a way to get your book in front of readers. And Amazon has given us some incredible tools to do that. And I'm going to show you how to really use that to great effect to actually get your book in the hands of readers all over the world and become a #1 bestseller on Amazon. And so my promise to you is I'm going to show you exactly how Amazon bestseller rankings work in this presentation tonight. I'm going to show you how to find the very best Amazon bestseller categories to list your book in. I'm showing you how to calculate exactly how many sales you need to get #1 in any bestseller category on Amazon. And I'm going to show you how to ensure you actually hit #1 on Amazon, right? So actually make sure that your book gets #1. And if you are doing things well and continue to do the work, stay #1 on Amazon for a really long time. And the reason this is so important, right? The reason bestseller lists are so important is because they're like the bookshelves of the modern day bookstore, right? So if you remember, back when bookstores used to be everywhere, you go into the giant bookstore and there's just shelves of books all over the place, right? So if you want a fantasy novel, you go to the fantasy section. If you want a cookbook, you go to the cookbook section. Well, now since most books are actually purchased online and no longer in bookstores, bookshelves have changed. And so they're now digital bookshelves. And those digital bookshelves we call bestseller lists or bestseller categories on Amazon and other online retailers. And so you have to put your book on the right bookshelves to get in front of readers. And if your book is not on the bookshelf, you're not going to no one's ever going to see your book, right? So it's actually possible for your book to appear on Amazon, but not have anyone be able to find it. And that's unfortunately is the case with most books that are published today, especially by self-published authors and independent authors and new authors, because they just don't understand how to get their books placed on the right bookshelves. And so that's what I'm going to show you how to do tonight. And that's going to drive a lot of sales for you and really make a big difference in your career. And most importantly, I'm going to show you how to systematize this entire process to save you countless hours of work. Because when I started doing this just for myself, my own books, I didn't have any tools to do it. No one taught me what to do. So I basically had to create this giant list of every single category and bestseller list on Amazon by hand. And it took dozens of hours every week to do that. And it was very effective. It helped me sell lots of books and become a bestseller very quickly. But it's not something that you can really do unless you're willing to work 100 hours a week like I was. It's just not really possible. So I'm going to show you how to systematize this entire process to save you a whole lot of time and really make it work for you. So if that's why you're here tonight, please go ahead and type in the chat box if this is what you came to learn tonight, because this is what I'm so excited to share with you, because I know it's going to make a big, big difference in your career and in your ability to get your message and story out to more people. Now, I love teaching, and I'm so grateful that I get to be here tonight to share with you, because I have a ton of information to share that's going to make a big difference in your life. And at the very end of today's training, you'll have an opportunity to learn about my advanced tools and training course and software for authors and publishers. But first, I'm going to thoroughly and completely deliver on my promise to you to show you exactly how to get your book to #1 bestseller status on Amazon. So I want to make sure you're prepared and have everything you need to learn as much as you can tonight. So make sure you've got a notebook, pen, and paper with you. If you don't have something to take notes with, you're definitely going to want to run right now and grab something to take notes with, because I'm going to share a lot of info with you tonight. Please turn off any cell phones, TVs, any distractions around you. You'll notice, if you haven't already, that I do talk really fast. It's just the way my brain's wired. So please do your best to stay focused so you can learn as much as possible. And if I say something you don't understand, just go ahead at any point in time, just type in the comments or type in the chat box and let me know. And at the end of the presentation, I'll come back to that and make sure I clarify everything for you and also answer any questions you have. So if you have any questions that come up during the presentation, feel free to just pop them in the chat box right away. And at the end of the presentation, I'll make sure to answer all of your questions and get you all the info you need to succeed. So I've got another quick question for you is have you published a book yet? So I want to get to know more about you and what you've been working on. So please go ahead and write in the chat box or the questions box if you've written or published a book before. And if so, please let us know what it's about. So be as specific as possible about your genre, your niche, whether it's vampire, romance, or mystery, or thriller, or poetry, whatever you write, we'd love to hear about it. And if you haven't written a book yet, you're still in the right place. Just let us know what you'd love to write about if you could, okay? And later on in the presentation today, I'm actually going to go through your chat messages and pick 2 of your books as examples as I go through our 5-step process to actually turn your book into a bestseller. So while you're sharing your book and your story with us in the chat box, I'd like to share my story really quickly. This is a picture of me when I was 19 years old. I was a broke college student, but I loved to read. I was reading every book I could get my hands on. And one day I had this idea of, I don't want to go to Wall Street. I don't want to become an investment banker like all my other classmates were doing in business school. But what if I could become an author? Like, what if that could be my career? What if that could be the way I earned a living and made a difference in the world? Actually writing books and helping educate and teach other people and share an important message and story with people. And so that was my dream when I was in college, was to become an Amazon best-selling author. And the problem was, I wrote down my goal 12 years ago, and that was to earn a full-time income doing what I love, reading, writing, and sharing good ideas. And that was really my dream. But the problem was I had no idea what I was doing, right? I had no idea how I was going to make that happen. That goal, honestly, when I wrote it down, it seemed crazy, but I was reading this, this self-help book at the time, said, write down your goal no matter how big it is. And that's the first step to turn it into reality. And so I did that. But I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have anyone to teach me what to do. There were very few books or guides or resources online available to teach you about publishing a book back then. So I was really just kind of figure it out by trial and error and learning as I went. And because of that process, it took me 6 years where I just failed miserably, right? I failed at traditional publishing. I couldn't get agents and publishers to respond to any of my letters, emails, or phone calls. So basically, it felt like I spent 6 years of my life trying to get my book published with nothing to show for it. And I don't know if you ever spent 6 years of your life trying to do something and not getting any results. It's miserable. It's just a terrible experience. And it was a huge bummer for me because I really wanted. I knew I could make a difference with my book. I knew I had something important to share with the world, but I couldn't get anyone else to believe in me, and I couldn't get my book published. And so when I finally heard about self-publishing, I decided I would just, put my book on Amazon and see how it went. And so when I self-published my first book in early 2012, I achieved my dreams faster than ever. It was really remarkable. So within a year, I was on the bestseller list all over Amazon. Here's a screenshot of me next to Robert Kiyosaki, and his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, was one of the first self-help books I'd read that really changed the way I looked at the world. And so it was an absolute honor to be, on the bestseller list next to Robert Kiyosaki and, Seth Godin and Brian Tracy. And, I've got tons of screenshots that go on for days, but it was really just a dream come true for me, right? To be able to go from not being able to get a book deal to being on the bestseller charts next to all these other great authors. And after that happened to me, I realized I had to share what I learned. I had to. Like, there's no way I wasn't going to teach other people what I had done because it made such a difference in my life. And I went from $0 to over $12,000 a month in Kindle ebook royalties alone in that first year, and it just transformed my life. And I want to share what I learned with other people so that other authors could have that same kind of success. And so I've taught many, many courses since then. I've taught over 70,000 students now, just online, how to write, publish, and market their books successfully. And some of my students basically said, hey, I love what you're teaching, but can you just do all the work for me, do the distribution and the branding and editing and design and publishing and marketing. And so that's why I started TCK Publishing about 5-6 years ago. And since then, we've published over 500 books in every major fiction and nonfiction market. And I've had some really great success there and just had a ton of experience publishing books in literally every market. So whether you're writing poetry or children's books or romance or mystery or thriller or sci-fi, fantasy, any kind of nonfiction, I've probably been there and done that before. And so I've got a lot of experience I want to share with you tonight to actually help you succeed and achieve your dreams. So my goal tonight is to save you 6 years of work, essentially, right? And show you how I've used market research and bestseller category analysis to create literally hundreds of #1 best-selling books on Amazon. So the first thing you need to understand is that choosing the right bestseller list on Amazon matters. It matters a lot, right? So selecting the right bestseller list on Amazon and changing nothing else can increase your sales by as much as 214%, if not a whole lot more, right? This is actually a really conservative figure, but it's very common to see books triple in sales, just from changing the list that your book is on Amazon. And again, the reason, like I talked about before, is because these are the bookshelves, right? And there's only 100 spots on each bookshelf on Amazon. So if your book isn't ranking the top 100 spots of the category, you're not actually on that bookshelf, right? You might, the website might say you're on that bookshelf, but if someone looks at that bookshelf, they will not be able to find your book. It's only got 100 spots. And so it's really, really important you find the right spots for your book to get your book in front of readers, right? Otherwise, again, you have a book published on Amazon, but no one can find it. And that's why you don't have any sales, right? So how Amazon sales rankings work. Every single book has a sales rank on Amazon. And #1 is the current best-selling ebook on all of Amazon, and number 5 million is the worst-selling ebook on Amazon. There's also rankings for print books. There's also rankings for audiobooks. So #1 is the best-selling book. Number 5 million or so is the worst. And the sales rankings update every single hour. So if the #2 book sells 1,000 copies more than the #1 book in the last hour, at the end of that hour, those rankings will update, and the #2 book will go to the #1 spot and vice versa. So this is what the sales ranking looks like on Amazon. So every book on Amazon is going to have a product details section, and it's going to tell you the Amazon bestsellers rank. Here's one of our books, Unlimited Memory. The rank a long time ago was number 1,060 paid in the Kindle store. It's a lot higher today, or a lot lower today, which means better. But you can see it's #1 in these different categories. and to maintain this ranking, you need about 2,700 sales per month. So that's where you can find out what the bestseller ranking of your book is, or of other books on Amazon, by looking at the product details section. And we'll go into more of this detail later on in the presentation. I'll actually walk you through Amazon's website and show you how all this works. But what you really want to make sure you do is pick your Kindle categories first, and then pick your physical book categories. So the Kindle categories start with we'll start with this saying Kindle Store, and then Kindle eBooks, and then Business and Money category, and then Education and Reference. And then the physical books start with books, right? So you'll know the difference just because of the first word in that category. So you want to pick your Kindle Store rankings first, do your research for the Kindle Store, then pick your books rankings for physical books. And if you have an audiobook, then pick your audiobook rankings for your audiobooks. Now, what you want to do is you want to aim for the top 100 rankings in every single category, right? Because again, if you can't rank the top 100 spots in each category, your book is not going to appear in that bookshelf, right? It's just not going to appear when people look there. So you have to find another category if you can't rank in the top 100 spots. And what that means is you need a lower Amazon sales rank, which means more sales, right, in order to rank on that category than the other 100 books in that category. And if you don't have enough sales rank in that category, you have to find another category. Now, the good news is there's over 44,000 categories on Amazon. I know because our software tracks every single one of them. But there's over 21,000 ebook categories in the US, 10,000 print book categories in the US, about 200 audiobook categories. There's about 11,000 UK categories. So there's a ton of different categories to choose from, which means if the first couple of bestseller lists you look at you can't rank for, there's probably lots of other great bestseller lists you can rank for if you actually know how to find them and get your book listed there. Now, another thing you should understand is that if you're publishing a book in English, 80 to 85% of your Kindle ebook sales and your print book sales will be on Amazon.com in the US. And about 5 to 10% of your sales will be in the UK, and the other 5 to 10% of your sales will be from all the other countries combined. And what that means is no matter where you live, whether you live in the UK or any other country, the vast majority of your sales and income is going to come from Amazon.com in the US if you're publishing in English. And a small percentage of your income will come from the UK, and then a very small percentage of your income will come from all those other countries combined. So it means you want to go through this 5-step process I'm about to share with you in Amazon.com in the US, no matter where you live. First and foremost, if you want to do more, you can look in the UK, and if you want to do more, you can look in other countries as well. Okay, so the 5-step process to becoming a best-selling, a #1 bestseller on Amazon is first you have to find relevant bestseller categories. You have to find a list of every single possible bookshelf your book could fit on in Amazon. Then you have to analyze the competition, understand what they're doing and how to set your book apart. You have to calculate how many sales you need to hit #1 in each category, so you actually know, okay, I can hit #1 in this bookshelf, but not in that bookshelf. And step 4 is you're going to choose your 2 target categories that you're going to aim for to hit #1. And then step 5 is going to get Amazon to put your book in those categories. So first step is finding relevant bestseller categories. You should save this link. It's tskpublishing.com/Amazon categories. And I'll show you exactly where that goes in a couple minutes. But basically, just go to Amazon's Kindle Store bestseller rankings page so you can actually go through this 5-step process to find the relevant categories for your book on Amazon. Now, step 2 is we're going to analyze the competition. This is a crucial step that most authors skip over. And it's one of the reasons why people aren't buying your book is because you don't understand what they're looking for, right? So you really have to understand the competition, understand the market, and understand who is your target reader, right? Who is your ideal person who's going to pick up your book and love it and tell 10 or 20 or 50 people about it, right? Those are the types of people you need to reach with your marketing efforts. Those are the type of people you need to get in front of when you put your book on a bestseller list on Amazon and on a bookshelf. And those are the people you have to spend your time and energy convincing or just educating about your book, right? Because you really don't have to convince them, right? If they love books like yours and they just find out about it, they're probably going to buy it and read it, right? But you have to get in front of those folks in the first place. In order to get in front of the right folks, you have to understand who those folks are, right? That means understanding your reader demographics, right? How old are they? How young are they? What's their age range? Are they mostly male or mostly female? What other types of books do they love to read? What other things do they buy? Where do they tend to live? What is a day in their life like, right? The more you understand your ideal reader, your target reader, the person who's going to buy your book and share it with 50 other people, the much faster you're going to sell a whole lot of books because you're going to get in front of the right people who are actually going to love your book. And that's one of the big mistakes so many authors make is that, we just tell everyone about our book. Everyone's going to love my poetry book or everyone's going to love my romance novel. And the truth is very few people out of 400 million people in the United States only a small percentage actually read poetry books or actually read romance novels. It's a really small percentage. It's not everyone, right? And so when you tell everyone about your book, you tend to not get very good results, which you've probably noticed. And the other problem is that the people who do value your book don't tend to tell a whole lot of other people about it. And again, that's because they're just not your ideal reader. So when you find your ideal reader, your target reader, people who love your book, they're going to tell 50 other people, who are going to tell more people and tell more people, and you get this snowball effect with a whole lot more sales. And the other thing you need to understand at this step is to really understand, what are the best-selling authors doing in your market, right? How are they designing their book covers? How are they doing their marketing? How are they writing their book descriptions and their marketing copy? And they're really looking at what other authors are doing in your market to understand them and to model them and to make your book set apart from the crowd, right? Because if you don't understand what they're doing and you can't at least model what they're doing, you're not going to be able to do it even better, right? So it's a really, really important step to analyze the competition. Now, step 3 is you're going to calculate exactly how many sales you need to hit #1 in each category on Amazon. So I have a free tool, the Amazon Book Sales Calculator. It's at tskpublishing.com/calculator, so you can save that link. And you just type in the Kindle sales rank or the book sales rank for any physical book, and it'll tell you exactly how many sales you need to hit #1 in any category on Amazon. Now, step 4 is you're going to choose your 2 target categories you're going to rank for. So we found your list now. You've got a big list of, let's say, 20 or 50 bookshelves or categories you think your book could rank for or should rank for. Then you've analyzed the competition, and you understand how many sales you need to hit #1 in each of those categories. So now you're going to aim to hit #1 in at least one of those categories and top 20 in the other category, okay? Because if you do this, it'll give you your book #1 ranking, and then you get your book at least top 20 in another category where you're going to be at the top of that bookshelf, which means you're going to get a lot more sales from being at the top of that bookshelf where a lot of readers are looking for books like yours, okay? Now, step 5 is we're going to get Amazon to list your book in your ideal target categories. And by far, the best way to do this is just to simply contact KDP support, okay? You're going to contact KDP support. You're going to say, hey, Amazon, please change the category of my book to, and you're just going to copy and paste the category name for your book. So you can find this category name on Amazon or in our Bestseller Ranking Pro software, which does this for you, okay? So you really need to contact Amazon support to do this because it's going to save you so much time and energy and effort. If you try to do it a different way, it's going to waste your time, and you're probably going to get bad results. So it's really important I help you understand how to avoid category confusion, right? Because Amazon has multiple different categories or bestseller lists databases, right? So on Amazon's website, they display a combination of BISAC categories, which are like the book industry standard categories, and Amazon's own unique categories. So they have a blend of like the whole industry's categories plus their own categories that are available on the website. These are the categories that readers see, right? These are the bookshelves that readers see when they walk into Amazon's bookstore. So these are the categories you want your book to be listed on. You want your book on the bookshelves that readers see. Now, the problem is that if you've seen inside the KDP dashboard before, whether you published an ebook for KDP or a print book through KDP, they have their own set of categories in KDP for ebooks and print books, which are not the same as the categories that appear on Amazon's website. And that's why sometimes people will say, well, you know, I chose XYZ category and I published it on Amazon and it's not showing in that category. Why is that? Well, it's because the categories you select in KDP are not the same as the categories that are available on Amazon's website. So you always want your book to be on the public bookshelves that customers see, which are the categories available on Amazon's website. And so that's what I'm going to teach you how to do tonight. And that's why our software only lists the categories that are on Amazon's website, because those are the bookshelves that readers are actually looking at to shop for books like yours. Okay, so if you want to learn how to do this right, just only use Amazon's categories that are available on their website, and only change your categories by contacting KDP support. If you do those 2 things, you will avoid all the confusion and save yourself tons of time and energy. Now, what all this means for you, if you really want to be successful as an author and hit #1 bestseller and stay #1 for a long time, at a minimum, you have to research the bestseller list every 3 months on Amazon's website. And if you're one of a really professional, savvy publisher, you want to earn a full-time income as a publisher or more, you have to be constantly researching the bestseller list and analyzing the books, the bestsellers constantly, because you have to constantly learn from the competition and constantly update the bookshelves that your book is on in Amazon, because they do change. Amazon adds dozens of new categories every month. They switch categories around. They change the names. They change the listings. So if you just pick 2 categories today for your book on Amazon, come back 6 months later or a year later, you might find your book is on a completely different bookshelf that you never intended, right? And it could be that that bookshelf just happens to be a bookshelf where your book is not featured in the top and not getting in front of readers, right? And that can be why your sales just tank, all right? So it's really important you constantly update this if you want to stay with your book in front of readers and continue to get more sales. Okay, now it's for the fun part. So we're actually going to analyze your book. I'm going to look through your books or your market on Amazon and help you go through this 5-step process based on your market or genre. So if you haven't already, please go ahead in the chat box and let us know what niche or genre you're publishing in, and I will walk you through this process to research your book. Okay, and just bear with me as I go to Amazon's website and try to share my screen there. Okay, can you guys see my screen on Amazon's website? It says Amazon bestsellers up here.
Yeah, that's just come through, Tom.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is the Amazon bestsellers list. This is their category that contains all of their bestseller lists for the Kindle store. They also have different bestseller lists for books, but today we're just going to do Kindle ebooks because to keep it simple. But the same process works for all their physical books and audiobooks as well. So here is the list of all of their different parent categories for books. Right? And the parent category is like a big level category. So each of these categories might have dozens or hundreds or even thousands of subcategories or child categories underneath them. Okay. So I saw someone mention that they're publishing fantasy books. So I'm going to go ahead and look at fantasy. So one thing you need to understand is that there are multiple different parent categories, which have which are kind of confusing because they have lots of different categories underneath them. So literature and fiction is going to have fantasy categories in it. There's also science fiction and fantasy category that obviously has fantasy in it. But also in the romance category, there'll be fantasy categories under there. And the mystery thriller category will have fantasies under there. So don't just think you can click fantasy category and find all the fantasy categories on Amazon. It doesn't actually work that way. So any category that's slightly related to yours, you're going to need to look at if you want to find all of the different fantasy bookshelves that your book could fit on. So here in the literature and fiction category, we can just keep looking for another fantasy theme category. And I don't actually see them here. So it's going to take forever, which is one of the reasons why I created the software, to save you time. So let's just go to the science fiction and fantasy category. We'll pick fantasy, since someone mentioned publishing fantasy. And now we have a bunch of different subgenres inside fantasy. So let's just assume you have a coming-of-age fantasy novel. And now, once I click coming of age, you'll see there's no other subcategories underneath it. And so now we've selected a child category, which means it's the most specific category you can pick. And these are the categories you're actually going to tell Amazon to change your book to. You can tell them to change your book to this child category because they're so specific and so niche that you often need less sales to rank for them. And they also give you the benefit of ranking your book in all the different categories that are above them. So above coming of age, there's a fantasy category and there's a science fiction fantasy category. So if you pick this book category, this bookshelf for your book will also be featured on the fantasy bookshelf and on the sci-fi and fantasy bookshelf as well. So by picking this one bookshelf, your book is listed actually in 3 bookshelves or potentially even more, okay? So once we've found a relevant category for your book, that's step 1. We've done that, right? So you're going to repeat step 1, 50 times or 100 times until you find all the relevant categories for your book. And then you're going to create a list of all those categories, right? Now, once you've done that, step 2 is going to analyze the competition. And the first thing you want to do on this page to analyze the competition is just take a look at their books, right? Take a look at their book titles and book covers and see what kind of cover designs they're creating, right? And take a look at the fonts they use, the colors they use, the images they use, the symbolism they use, the emotions they're conveying through their book covers, right? Take a note of all of that because your book has to stay on this bookshelf and stand out on this bookshelf, right? It's just like going into a bookstore. If you go into a bookstore, you see a bookshelf with 50 fantasy novels, you're going to pick the ones with the coolest covers, right? And what does it mean to have the coolest cover? Well, it's completely different to have a cool fantasy cover than it is to have a really cool romance cover or a business cover, right? It's going to look completely different. And so when you start to research your market, really understand the types of cover images that are resonating with your readers. If your book looks like a romance novel on this bookshelf, it will not sell on this bookshelf, right? You will not get sales and your book will fall off, right? So you need to make sure you design a great book cover that's designed for your market. And every single market is different. Every single niche is different. Every single genre is different. So you really have to do this research for your niche and your genre, okay? Now, other things you want to look at and analyze the competition is their book descriptions, okay? So this is where the book description lies on Amazon. This one is super, super short. But you want to read all the book descriptions for the top best-selling books in your market and model them, right? Your book description should not look like this. This is actually a really bad one. I don't know why it's so bad. Probably because they have other books selling really, really well, and they just didn't put a lot of effort into it. But look at the books in your market that have done a really great job of writing book descriptions and model those book descriptions, because that'll help you increase your conversions on Amazon, which means more sales, okay? The other thing you should do is look inside the book. So you click look inside, just click the cover image to start reading the book. You can read part of the book for free. And what you want to do is you want to read the first 1 to 2 pages of the best-selling books in your market, understand how they start their book, right? How do they get readers captivated from page 1 enough to actually buy the book? Because a lot of your readers are going to go to the bookshelf, they're going to click on your book. If they like your cover image, if they like the description, they're going to click look inside your book, and they're going to read the first page or 2. And if they're not hooked from that first page, they're probably going to not to buy your book. They're going to buy a different book on that bookshelf, right? So if you do this, you read the first couple of pages of the best-selling books in your market, what you're going to learn is how to write a better introduction to your book, the better first chapter, the better first page, and that's going to hook more readers in your book and get you more sales, right? It makes a big, big, big difference if you do that. Now, the other thing you want to do to analyze competition is scroll all the way down to the customer reviews, and you want to start reading the reviews of the best-selling books in your market. So you're going to read all the reviews, and you're going to have a notebook with you. And on one side of your notebook, you're going to have things readers love, right? Love. Draw a line down the middle of your notebook, and on the other side of your notebook, write hate, things readers hate about those books. And as you're reading these reviews, you're going to jot down everything readers love about these books and everything readers hate about these books. And what you're going to notice after reading about 1,000, 2,000 reviews in your market, you're going to notice some patterns, right? Some things that are common amongst all the reviews in your market of readers saying they love these types of things. They love those scenes. They love those characters. They love that information, those charts, those graphs, whatever it is. And then all the things they hate about those books. And what you can do with this information is, first of all, you're going to make sure you include all the stuff readers love about those books in your market in your book, or at least as much as you can. And you're going to make sure you avoid doing all the things that readers hate about your books in your market, because that's going to give you bad reviews and bad sales, right? The other thing you can do with that information is use it for marketing, right? You can actually update your book description based on what readers say they're looking for. So if readers say, they love certain types of scenes or certain type of characters in your fantasy novel, then let them know that you have those types of scenes and those types of characters right in your book description, and will dramatically increase your sales and conversions and help you to sell a lot more books over the long term. Okay, so those are the main things you really want to do when you're looking at analyze the competition. Another great tip, what I recommend, is look at these authors' profiles. So go to their profile, look at their author's website, see what they're doing to market their books. See if you can figure out how are they getting people to buy their books, because chances are if someone's, this book is ranked number 103 paid in the Kindle store. So step 3 is we're going to find out how many sales we need to hit number 1 in this category, right? So if we go to our sales calculator here, type in 103, calculate monthly sales. I mean, this author's selling 15,000 books a month right now on Amazon, right? Just for ebooks, okay? So I'm guessing if they're selling that many books, they're probably doing something right, right? Which means you can learn a ton from what they're doing just by looking at their website, by reading their blogs, by following them on social media, like seeing what they're doing to promote their books. And if you model what they're doing, you can sell a lot more books too. Now, the other awesome thing you're going to want to do is create a list of all these authors, right? So to create a list of all the best-selling authors in your market, and you can put that list in Excel and have links to their websites and their social media and everything. And then when you're ready to promote your book, you can reach out to them and ask them to share your book on social media, or see if they'd be willing to help you promote your book. And that's another way to get your book a ton of more sales, right? Just by connecting and networking with other leading authors in your market, okay? So that's step 2, is analyze the competition. Step 3, calculating how many sales you need to hit number 1. We've done that. And now step 4 is what you're going to do after you repeat this process. So what I would do in the fantasy market is I would repeat this process for every single fantasy bestseller list that looks relevant to you. All right, we go to the fairy tales one next, and dragons and mythical creatures, et cetera, et cetera. Once you've done that, you see how competitive these lists are, and which lists are the most relevant for your book. You're going to pick the 2 lists you think are the best lists that you think you can rank number 1 for or top 20 for on Amazon. Then you get step 5, you're going to just contact Amazon and say, hey, Amazon, please add my book to that list. And so the way you do that is just take the category down from the product details section of the book. So if you go to product details, you'll see the categories here, and just copy that category. So let's say you want to be in contemporary romance fiction, you would just copy and paste that category to Amazon, say, hey, Amazon, please add my book to this category. And they'll go ahead and make that change for you within 24 hours. So that's the best way to do that. Okay, so let's go back to Kindle eBooks. Someone else mentioned they're publishing horror books, so we can do the same analysis for horror. So if you go to mystery, thriller, and suspense, I believe a lot of the horror is in there, possibly. There actually aren't that many horror bestseller lists, so that's going to be a tough one to actually find manually. The software is going to find that so much faster, so I'm actually going to use software for that one. I know someone else mentioned something in nonfiction. I don't remember what it was. Let's see. I can't see the chat box right here. Let's just look at business and money for nonfiction. So for business, let's imagine we're writing a book on leadership. So we could look for business and money, and then look at management and leadership. And then there's subcategories underneath here, so we could look at negotiating. And okay, so we've got negotiating, and that's a child category because there's no categories underneath it. And then we can look at the competition, right? And so you'll notice right away that all the book cover designs in this genre are completely different than all the fantasy book covers we just looked at, right? So it's really important you study these book covers in your market, look at the colors they use, the fonts they use, the imagery they use, etc., and design a book cover that's going to stand out in your market and actually attract the attention of readers in your market so that they're actually going to buy it, right? Remember, people are going to look at these bookshelves to figure out, what do I want to buy? And if they don't like your book cover, they're not going to click, right? So the first step is I'm just clicking on the book cover. So once they click on the book cover, they're going to come to your book page, and they're going to read your book title and subtitle. They're going to read your book description. So make sure you model the successful book descriptions in your market. They're going to look inside your book, right? And they're going to read the first couple of pages. So make sure you write a great first 1 or 2 pages for your book that hooks the reader right from the beginning. And you can read the bestsellers in your market to figure out how to do that. And then again, come down to the reviews and read all the reviews in the best-selling books in your market. So it's the same for fiction and nonfiction, right? It really is the same. It's the same process, right? Now, what you're going to learn is going to be completely different, right? What readers are going to love about nonfiction books and hate about them is going to be completely different than what they're going to love and hate about fantasy novels or horror novels or romance, right? So it's really, really important that you do this research for your market, right? The research for a fantasy market is not going to help you when it comes to publishing in the romance market. So you have to do this research for every market you're publishing in. And then the product details section, you can find the bestseller rankings, but this one doesn't have it for some reason. Okay, that book has quality issues, that's why. So this book is number 1,575 paid in the Kindle store. So we can then calculate step 3, how many sales we need to hit number 7 in this category, because this is the 7th book, and it's 250 sales per month. Okay. So you're going to repeat this process for every book that you're looking to rank for, or for every category that you're looking to rank for. And then once you find the best 2 categories, you're going to contact Amazon and have them add your book to that list. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my slides now and share a little bit more with you about what else to do. Okay, can you guys see the slides now?
Yeah, the slides are there, Tom. Yeah, sorry, I just switched my mic on.
Great. So just wanted to do a quick learning checkup. I covered a lot of information really fast, and about to cover a little bit more. We just want to make sure you understand what we've covered so far and make sure it's been helpful for you. So please go ahead and write in the chat box kind of the favorite thing you've learned so far, and if you're excited about actually applying this to help you sell more books. And a big question I often get is, okay, this sounds great, it looks great, is it actually going to work for me, right? And it does. It works for everyone, no matter how young or old you are. And in fact, here's an example of Mark Messick. He's an international best-selling author of over 11 books now. He's 17 years old now. He published his first book at age 14, and he's been making a full-time income as an author for several years now, right? As a teenage kid living in his parents' home, right? And here's actually a screenshot of Mark outselling Donald Trump. This is taken, when Donald Trump was still like the front runner of the Republican Party, but still at that time in Trump's life, he was still like the number one person in the media all over the world. Right? So the person with more media attention than anyone else in the world. This 16-year-old kid at the time was outselling him on Amazon using this process, using this system, right? And the question is why? Like, how is it even possible, right? And the reason is because, look, if you understand how to get your book on the right bookshelves on Amazon, you analyze the competition, you understand what your readers really want, who your target reader is, and you put your book in front of those target readers and make sure your book stays on those bookshelves, you're going to sell a whole lot of books, whether you're 15 or 50 or 90, right? Age doesn't matter, experience doesn't matter, background doesn't matter. What matters is that you have a great book, you put it in front of the right readers, and people buy, right? That's how it works. That's how the book business works. It's all about distribution, right? That's why major publishers will pay thousands of dollars to get their books on the right bookshelf in a bookstore, right? The problem with Amazon is you can't pay Amazon to put your book on their bookshelves. You have to do your research to get them to put your book on the bookshelf. So instead of investing lots of money, you invest the time to put your book on the right bookshelves on Amazon, and you're rewarded for that with a whole lot of sales and a whole lot of happy customers. That's how it works, right? Now, the process I share with you tonight, as you can probably tell, it's really slow, right? Like if I want to do that for horror, it would take like several hours just to find you a couple of horror bestseller lists, because there's aren't that many of them, and they're really hard to find on Amazon because it's not well organized, right? And because it takes so much time, I created the software. It's called Bestseller Ranking Pro, and I developed it for myself and for our company to help us do this process so much faster and so much more efficiently. And now I want to show you how you can use it to help you sell more books as well. So let me show you what it will do. I'm going to go ahead and fire it up, and I think you're going to love this. Okay. Whoa. Can you guys see the screen now? It says currently tracking 42,500 Amazon bestseller categories. So
can't see the screen at the moment, Tom. So if you go into, you'll need to do.
Says it's sharing.
Now we can see currently tracking.
Okay, great.
521, yeah.
Thanks, John.
Okay.
So as soon as you log in, it'll tell you how many categories we're currently tracking in the software, and then you can start looking at categories for U.S. books, U.S. print books, short reads, audio books in the UK and the U.S. So let's just go to ebooks in the U.S. right now. And you can see all the different parent categories here as they're listed on Amazon. So we can look at the fantasy category. And here's what you'll see in the rankings. So you'll see, first of all, the category listing, the exact category listing as it appears on Amazon for each of these books. Right? So here's all the different fantasy categories. There's 52 different categories of fantasy in this parent category. There's actually a lot more fantasy categories, but these are the ones that appear under the science fiction fantasy parent category. And then here you'll see the book number one, which means the sales rank of the number one book in this market. So the number one book in this bestseller list is number 4 in all the Kindle store. And if you scroll over that number, it'll tell you how many sales per month you need or sales in 24 hours you need in order to hit number one in that category. So you either need 90,000 sales per month over a 30-day period, or if you launch a brand new book, you need 6,000 sales in 1 day, in 24 hours to hit number one in this category. So it's hyper competitive, right? Then you'll see book number 20, which is how many sales or sales rankings do you need to hit number 20 on this bestseller list on Amazon. So this one you need 197 Kindle store rank, which is 10,000 sales per month or 680 in 24 hours. And if you want to be on the 100th spot in this category, like at the bottom of this bookshelf, you still need 3,000 sales a month, right? So it's a really competitive bookshelf right there. But the cool thing about this is you can actually organize by competitiveness. So if I click once, I'll see the most competitive categories at the top. And I click again, I'll see the least competitive categories here. So here are some fantasy categories that you can rank #1 for with just 2 sales in a day, right? Or 6 sales in a day. Or this one's 1,000 sales in a month, right? So these are the 2 super easy ones to rank for right here. So you can see the most competitive and least competitive categories. So you can easily find categories that you can actually rank #1 for right now with just a couple of sales, right? So there's an even cooler feature in Bestseller Ranking Pro where you can actually search all the categories, right? And this is cooler because it's just going to save you even more time, all right? So we developed this recently, and rather than having to go through all the different parent categories like Amazon organized it, you can simply type in fantasy for the US or the UK for ebooks or print books, and you can see all the different fantasy categories on Amazon. So there's 162 fantasy categories for ebooks on the US on Amazon. And again, you can just search by competitiveness right here. So you'll see the most competitive categories right here. And then if you click again, you'll see the least competitive categories. Right. So some of these categories, like here, 0 sales in 24 hours. So you get literally 1 sale, you'll be #1 in this category. That's a Chinese category, so it's probably not one you're going to want to be in. But some of these categories are just hyper easy to rank for. So even in a really competitive market, like fantasy or horror, you can rank #1 with just a couple of sales, right? So this software will find all these categories for you, and you can rank #1 for it really, really easily. So the same thing with like horror, right? Remember how it's going to take hours and hours to find horror bestseller lists? With the software, you can find all 34 horror lists really, really easily and sort them by competitiveness with just 1 click, right? So it just makes this whole process so much easier. And then the other great thing about it is it will also allow you to actually do the research on Amazon with 1 click, right? So you can look at horror, manga, comic novels, right? You just click the link and do your market research, right? And notice how the covers in this market are completely different than fantasy and self-help, right? So you can do that research with the click of a button. So the software just saves you a massive amount of time. Works for fiction, nonfiction, and everything else. So same thing if you want to do it for business. In business. And you'll see there are 585 business categories for ebooks in the US right now. And again, with 1 click, you can see the most competitive categories right here that are really hard to rank for, and the least competitive categories that you only need 1 sale or 2 sales in order to hit #1 for. So this software just saves you a massive amount of time, makes this whole process really easy for you. So in 5 minutes, you can find all the bestseller lists you need and get your book on the right bookshelf. And literally, if you want to change your book to this category right here, just highlight the text, click copy, send Amazon KDP support an email, say, hey, Amazon, please add my book to this category, and boom, you're done, right? So rather than taking 5 hours or 50 hours, you can do it in 5 minutes. So I'm going to go back to my slides real quick. So quick learning recap of what we covered so far. There's 5 steps to becoming #1 bestselling author on Amazon. You're going to find the relevant bestseller categories on Amazon. You're going to analyze the competition, learn as much as you can from them to help you get your book on the right bookshelves and promote your book better. And step 3 is you're going to calculate how many sales you need to hit #1 and each of the categories you're aiming for. Step 4 is you're going to choose your 2 child categories, those 2 really niche specific categories that you're aiming for to hit #1 on Amazon. And step 5 is you can get Amazon to list your book in those categories by actually contacting KDP support and asking them to change your book to those categories. So this software is going to help save you a massive amount of time when it comes to this process, right? Because, I mean, I can't even imagine doing this manually anymore, right? When I started this, when we first developed the software, there was only like a little less than 20,000 categories on Amazon. Today, there's over 44,000 that we're tracking, and they're adding more and more every single month. So this is getting more and more complicated, bigger and bigger and bigger as Amazon keeps growing. And so this software is going to save you a ton of time, right? And that's why I made it public for authors and publishers like you, because I knew at first we just developed it for TCK Publishing for the company because we needed it for ourselves. But then I realized it would help other authors like you. And it really just makes the whole process to get your book #1 on Amazon a whole lot faster and a whole lot easier. It really takes the uncertainty out of launching a book, because with Bestseller Ranking Pro, you're going to know exactly which categories are best for your book, how many books you need to sell to hit #1 in each of your categories on Amazon. You're going to know how many books your competitors are selling, right? So with a click of a button, you can see exactly how many sales any of your competitors are selling. So if you're researching a market, maybe you're just brand new, trying to figure out, what market you want to write in, you can see which markets are actually making money for their authors and which ones aren't. And you can focus your time on the markets or the niches or the subgenres where you're likely to make a whole lot more money. So what is it worth? I know for many of our authors and students, it's worth over $1,000 a month in extra royalties that they're earning. And it's worth countless hours of work, because really doing this work on your by hand, going to Amazon, finding all the categories, writing them down in a spreadsheet, trying to figure out the sales rankings for each one, even with our tool, which helps you do it, like the free calculator, it still takes a lot of time to do that. And you have to update it constantly, right? And that's the great thing about this software, is that it updates constantly for you. So you don't have to do any of that work, and it just saves you a massive amount of time and energy. And the system will work for you. One of our students, Ann Wolfinger, says, Bestseller Ranking Pro takes the mystery out of Amazon rankings like nothing else I've seen, and it gives authors and publishers a serious edge on the competition. Do yourself a favor and grab it while you can. You'll save yourself a boatload of time and uncertainty, not to mention downright frustration spent wondering why someone else's book zoomed at the top of the bestseller charts on Amazon while yours never got off the ground. David Brinson posted in our Facebook group for members that his book, Dead South, hit #1 on Amazon UK's post-apocalyptic bestseller chart after picking his category with Bestseller Ranking Pro just 6 weeks ago. Barry says his book hit #1 in 3 different categories on Amazon the first day out, thanks to Bestseller Ranking Pro. And you can see there his Amazon bestsellers rank was 3,482. So you can actually estimate exactly how many sales he had on the first day of his promotion just using our calculator. Lee wrote, her client hit #1 in one category, and #4 and 13 in another on the first day of their launch. And then she posted again that she's published 3 books for different clients. She's like a marketer that helps other authors sell more books. And all of their books, basically all of her clients, hit #1 on launch day. So that's really, really cool. That doesn't just work for self-published authors and indie authors, also works for marketers and publicists and other folks trying to help authors to sell more books and hit #1 on Amazon as well. Jeanette is a mom on a mission to help stop human trafficking, and her book has been a big source of progress in that domain because it hit #1 on Amazon with Bestseller Ranking Pro, and she was able to get a lot more media and publicity because of that, and actually get her message out to many more people, and get media appearances to get her message out and actually make a difference in the world and raise a lot of money to make a big difference in this arena. So, whether you're publishing nonfiction, fiction, whether your goal is to sell millions of books or just to make a difference and help people, Bestseller Ranking Pro can help. So here's what Bestseller Ranking Pro does for you. It tracks all 42,000 plus bestseller lists on Amazon in the US and the UK for ebooks, print books, paperbacks, hardcovers, and audiobooks. It's organized by competitiveness. So you can see with the click of a button, the most competitive categories in your market and the least competitive categories in your market. It's got a quick and easy search function. So you can literally type in fantasy, horror, romance, poetry, children's books, whatever you want, and find only the relevant categories for your book. So you take those 42,000 categories and only look at the 100 or 500 or 50 that are actually relevant for you. So you can find the best bestseller list, right? The best bookshelves to put your book on in less than 5 minutes. It automatically calculates exactly how many sales you need to hit #1 on Amazon in any category, and it uses the world's most accurate Amazon sales rank algorithm model. I don't have time to go into how we developed that, but we have just a massive amount of data for Amazon sales as a publisher, and so we've been able to develop this really, really accurate algorithm. So it actually, so if it says you need 3,000 sales per month, you can bet it's within 10% of that. So that's what you actually need to hit and maintain that ranking on Amazon. It links directly to each bestseller category page on Amazon, so you can do more research. You can analyze the competition with one click really, really easily. And so here's what you get when you join today. You get lifetime access to all the Bestseller Ranking Pro tools. You get 30 plus video lessons and step-by-step tutorials. So in these video lessons, I walk you into much more detail on, picking the right bestseller list for your book, making sure you understand which ones are the best ones to pick. Because it's more than just picking the ones that you're easy to rank for, right? It's great to have a category that's easy to rank for. You're number one, you get that bestseller badge on Amazon, you get more sales, that's great. But you also want to pick categories that are driving sales for you. And so there's a way you can actually test that process to make sure the categories you pick on Amazon are driving more and more sales for you. You're also going to learn in those video lessons how to actually get more categories for your book on Amazon. So when you pick categories in KDP, you only get two. You only get two categories. But if you follow this process, you can get as many as 10 categories just for your ebook and 10 categories for your print book. So you can get as many as 20 or more categories for your book if you follow that process, right? Which means your book is now appearing on way more bookshelves, right? So it's in front of way more readers, which means way more sales for you. You're also going to get access to our private members-only Facebook group where you can connect and ask questions and learn from other authors and other writers who are successful in using the system in your market. All right, so we've got authors in every genre and niche you can imagine. This is a great place to meet and connect with other authors, get your questions answered, and build promotional relationships too. So you can help cross-promote your book with other books of authors in that group as well. So this is a great group to connect with, learn more, and help you sell more books. We update the software constantly. It's actually more than weekly. We update the software several times every single week to make sure it always has the newest categories on Amazon, all the changes. So every time Amazon changes a category from one list to another, we update that in the software. Every time the rankings change, we update that in the software. So it's all there for you. You don't have to worry about having accurate data. It's always accurate. It's always up to date. And that all comes free. So all the updates are free. You don't have to pay for an update. It's just done for you. You also get the detailed market analysis and research videos for every niche and genre. So we took all the major niches and genres like romance and mystery and thriller, etc. And we recorded a video to actually walk you through that step 2 process of analyzing the competition to understand, what kind of cover designs work in that market, what kind of marketing campaigns work in that market, what are the ratio of ebook sales to print sales to audio sales in that market. What are some other distribution strategies you can use in that market to sell more books? What are some marketing strategies you can use in that market that work really well in that market? Because again, all this stuff changes from market to market. So what works for romance doesn't work for thriller, doesn't work for poetry, doesn't work for children's books, doesn't work for self-help. You've got to understand what works in your market and do what works if you want to sell more books in your market. You also get bonus training videos on how to get Amazon to list your book in extra categories as well. So in addition to those 10 categories you can get listed in, you can also get your book listed in extra categories called Kindle keyword categories and short reads categories as well. And so we show you how to do that in the course as well. So if you're ready to get started, just go to tskpublishing.com/John, and you can sign up right now and start using Bestseller Ranking Pro right away. There's a couple other things I want to share with you to help you on your journey to becoming a #1 bestselling author on Amazon and beyond. And so when you sign up tonight for Bestseller Ranking Pro, you're going to get a couple of bonuses. So the first bonus you're going to get is our email marketing mastery video training course. This is our step-by-step training course on how to build your website, first of all. So if you don't have an author website, that's just included in here. I'm going to show you how to do that in less than an hour. You can build your own website. It's a professional, amazing-looking website in less than an hour. And once you've done that, I'm going to show you a step-by-step training process how to build your email list, because your email list is your #1 marketing asset as an author. If you do not have an email list, there is no way you're really going to be successful as an author long-term. You have to have a way to connect with your readers and connect with your fan base. And email is by far the most effective way to do that. So in this training course, I'm going to show you how to get your first 1,000 subscribers, how to make your book launches wildly successful using your email list, as well as other people's email lists. And there's no tech or web experience needed at all to build your website or to build your email list or to follow this whole course. So if you're a complete tech newbie, no problem. You can follow this course and still get results with it. Bonus number 2, you're going to get our members-only Q&A sessions. This is where you can ask any question about marketing, promotions, bestseller lists, libraries, distribution, ISBNs, anything you want, anything you need. And you'll get actually detailed research information about the industry from real professionals like me and our team at TCK Publishing. And you get access to all the recorded Q&A sessions as well. So any questions you have, no matter how advanced, we're going to make sure you're taken care of and you have all the info you need to succeed. And bonus number 3, you can get our top 6 interviews with best-selling authors who hit #1 on Amazon and stayed #1 on Amazon for at least a year. All right. So these are folks who didn't just hit #1 once, they stayed #1 for at least a year in nonfiction and fiction. So you're going to hear from authors who sold more than 2 million self-published novels. And you're going to hear from a New York Times bestselling novelist who self-publishes and hit the New York Times list within 1 year of becoming a self-published author. right? She had no audience, no platform. She was brand new, and she hit the New York Times bestseller list as a self-published author. And I'm going to show you, and you're going to learn in that interview how she did that. And you can model that, whether you write romance like she does, or mystery or thriller or fantasy or sci-fi. You can model what she did to become a New York Times bestselling author. And you're going to hear from an average guy who got 40,000 free downloads for his first book launch. He's a nonfiction author in the health space. And after that, he sold a ton of books that people actually paid for and hit #1 and stayed #1 for over a year. And it revolutionized his business. He became the leader in the industry really, really quickly because of that book launch. And he's going to show you how he did that, how he built his fan base and built his email list using that book launch. So if you're ready to get started, just go to tscapepublishing.com/John. So our special offer just on this webinar tonight is $497 for lifetime access to Bestseller Ranking Pro and all of these bonuses. We also have a 30-day no questions asked guarantee. So if you're not absolutely thrilled with your investment in Bestseller Ranking Pro, just ask for 100% full money back refund anytime within 30 days, and we can still be friends, no problem, no questions asked. So it's tscapepublishing.com/John to go ahead and sign up and get started. And I highly recommend you do this because it's going to make a big, big difference in your career, and there's no risk to you. Again, you can try it out for 30 days, see if it works for you or not. If not, we can still be friends, and you can move on and try something else. But this has worked for countless students of ours. Thousands and thousands of folks have found this really, really helpful and hit #1. And it'll work for you too if you're willing to actually go through the process and make it work. So right now, the offer is $497 for Bestseller Ranking Pro. You get lifetime access to Bestseller Ranking Pro, which means all the updates we've made, and we've made over 100 updates since we first released this a couple of years ago. You get access to all the updates. You never have to pay again. There's no upsell. We're not trying to sell you anything else. It's just lifetime access. You can always use it for your entire career. You can use it for your clients, for friends as well. If you've got other authors you work with, no problem. You're also going to get access to our email marketing mastery video training course. You're going to get our Bestseller Ranking Pro Q&A sessions. You're going to get our top 6 interviews with best-selling authors who hit #1 and stayed #1 on Amazon for over a year. You're going to get lifetime access to our members-only Facebook group. You're going to get our advanced training on Amazon's extra categories to get your book on way more bookshelves. And you're going to learn how to promote, sorry, actually that one I am deleting because we're no longer offering that. Sorry about that. Right now I'm going to show you how to pay with PayPal because we get this question every time. And I'm going to open up the questions and love to help you guys out. So if you're ready to get started, go to tscapepublishing.com/John. Having a problem with my screen share. 1 second.
Hey, Tom, thanks for that. I put a link in chat as well to that registration page.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Okay. I think you should be able to see the screen now. So this is the page you can go to, tscapepublishing.com/John, to check out. And here is
got a blank screen at the moment, Tom.
Okay. Sorry about this. Is the first time using Webinar Jam, so still learning. Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so just click the button that says click here to get access now, and it'll open up this page. And then if you want to use a credit card, you can use that. If you want to use PayPal, just click this button right here, and you can use PayPal. So just want to answer that question because sometimes I get the question every time. So just want to make sure you understand how to do that. With that, love to open up the questions and help you guys any way I can. So fire away.
Great. Well, there are some questions in chat, Tom. I'm getting a little bit of my feedback on your, but anyway, there are some questions in chat, but while you're scrolling through those, I'll give you a chance to catch your breath. And thank you very much for a great presentation there. Some really, really useful stuff. Yeah, you there, Tom?
Yes, just taking a drink of water.
Sorry. Yeah. Sometimes I get a little bit paranoid with Webinar Jam. It's great when it works, and sometimes it'll drop you out occasionally. But yeah, really, really interesting stuff and very powerful. And you mentioned obviously getting the right categories, getting boosted up, like you said, inside the course, it shows you how to boost up to 10 categories for your Kindle book and another 10 for your physical book. And I mean, that's a good point as well. If you've got a Kindle book, you've done 95% of the work to have a physical version. So you may as well have both for anybody who has got a Kindle book either out there or close to being published. You can hire somebody very inexpensively to reformat for CreateSpace. And I know CreateSpace platform is migrating onto KDP publishing anyway now, so it's probably going to be even simpler going forward. But as you say, I like the analogy you gave at the beginning as well. It's like it's the modern bookshelf. If you're not in that top 100 and really towards the top of that top 100, ideally, people aren't going to see your book when they search in categories. And that's exactly how we search in a bookshop, isn't it? We go to whatever our favorite category or book sections are, and we browse the shelves. Well, maybe it's natural history, maybe it's business, or maybe it's personal development, or maybe it's one of the fiction categories. So I like that analogy.
Yeah, thank you. And one thing I think a lot of authors don't realize is that in addition to ranking on the bookshelves, which is going to give you a lot more visibility, right? So like if you publish a book on Amazon and you're not ranking top 100 in a category, and you're not ranking for keywords when people search, like there's literally no way for readers to find your book, right? The only way they're going to find your book if you have a new book is if you tell them about it, or if they happen to know your book title and search for your book title, right? Like there's literally no other way on Amazon for them to find your book.
Yeah, and I guess the sort of old, it's not old school in sense. I mean, you can still go into a bookshop or a bookstore and buy a book, but it would be like your book's not on the shelf and you have to go to the desk and they have to look it up on the catalog and find it, which exactly. People don't know about it. If somebody doesn't know about it beforehand, they're never going to ask that question anybody because they don't know what they don't know. So, yeah.
And the other great thing about once you do rank number 1 in a category, you get that number 1 bestseller badge, and Amazon starts promoting your book. Right? They'll send emails out to promote your book because Amazon will send an email out for every single category listing. Right? So if your book is number 1 in 3 different categories, they'll send out 3 different emails to those readers who like those kinds of books, and they'll drive tons of sales for you. Right? So there's all kinds of other benefits to being ranked on a bookshelf and being number 1 on a bookshelf. That's far beyond just having a badge. Right? It means like you're actually getting more sales because you have that ranking.
Yeah,
because readers like the
point, Tom, I'm sure you've had this, and I'm sure your students have had this too, is where one day I'll check my KDP dashboard and there'll be a big spike in sales for one of the books, and I'm like, well, I haven't done anything, and I'm not aware that anybody's put anything out there. And usually it's because Amazon has put something out about that book, because Amazon will actually email effectively on your behalf. They don't tell you they're doing it, but you get a nice bump in sales.
Yeah, so Huggy asked, will this cover erotic romance? So it does. So every single category on Amazon is listed in Bestseller Ranking Pro, including all of the erotic romance categories. So all that's listed in there. We don't discriminate. And there's a training video in there as well on erotic romance on that market. So it does cover all that for you. And same with everything. So literally any market, any niche you're publishing in, if there's a category for it that exists on Amazon, it's in Bestseller Ranking Pro. We have every category there. Someone said, I'm unclear about the Amazon sales ranking tool and how to turn the number of books sold. So when you log into the tool, you're going to see the numbers. And so it'll say like, fantasy category, and you scroll over the number 1 spot in that category, and it'll say you need, 1,000 sales per month or 100 sales in a day, right? And the reason there's 2 numbers there is so 1,000 sales in a month or 100 sales in a day is because if you want to maintain a ranking month after month after month, you have to hit that monthly number, right? So you need 1,000 sales to hit that monthly number. And that obviously that's your goal, right? Is to hit number 1 on Amazon, sell 1,000 plus books a month, and stay number 1 year after year after year, and retire, right? Because you're getting paid really, really well. That's the goal. But if you're a brand new author, or if you're launching a new book, that number doesn't really matter for you. What really matters for you is how many books you need to sell in one day in order to hit number 1. Because if you're doing a book launch or a book promotion, you want to get as many sales as possible, as fast as possible, to jump up on the rankings on Amazon. So that's why those two numbers are there. So it takes a lot less sales to hit #1 if you get a lot of those sales in a short period of time, in one day, versus what it would take to get the #1 over doing it over a month, right? So again, it's like, do you want to get 1,000 sales per month, or is it maybe much more accessible for you to just get 100 sales in one day and hit #1, and then jump off that momentum to continue to sell more books and hopefully stay #1? So I hope that makes sense. And if not, feel free to ask more questions. I'm happy to talk more about it. Mary Jane asked us, does free downloads count as a sale? And they do not. Free downloads count as a free download. So there's two different rankings on Amazon. There's rankings for the paid store and rankings for the free store for ebooks. And free downloads don't count as sales. Now, if you're talking about free downloads from Kindle Unlimited or free downloads from the Amazon Kindle Owners Lending Library, those downloads do count as sales if the reader reads at least 10% of your book. So if someone has Kindle Unlimited or Amazon Prime, they are able to download for free on Kindle. And if they read 10% of your book or more, that will count as a sale on Amazon. So, so for some of our books, we might sell like 3,000 ebook copies a month and have the equivalent of 2,000 extra sales that are basically free downloads, because people are downloading the book for free, reading the pages, and those count as sales for the matter of your sales ranking. And then Amazon pays you based on the KENP, which is the Kindle estimated number of pages read, and that the amount they pay you every month changes month to month, but it's like a fraction of a penny every page they read. But it does add up, especially if you have longer books or novels. That money can add up really fast. Does getting your categories tend to replace your advertising expense? So if you pick great bestseller lists on Amazon, what it does is it makes your advertising more effective. And the reason is because on Amazon, there's a snowball effect. So if you've ever heard of the Pareto principle or the 80-20 rule, it says that basically 20% of things in life get 80% of the results, right? So if you look at the world's distribution of wealth, 20% of people have 80% of the money. If you look at the distribution of books, 20% of the books make 80% of the sales, right? And so what tends to happen is as you get more and more sales on Amazon, you get more and more promotion from Amazon. And so if you pick the right bestseller lists, you are going to be in front of more people and get more sales. And if you have advertising on top of that, you're going to jump even higher in your rankings. And that's when Amazon's going to be more likely to promote your book on their email list, to promote your book in other ways too. They have, Amazon has over a dozen different promotion programs for authors and publishers. And so if you combine this with advertising that's done well, you basically just increase your chance of getting those extra promotional tools from Amazon for free. So it's it creates a snowball effect. So I wouldn't say do this and don't advertise, but definitely if you do them together, you can get better results. Ellen asked, how many lists can your book be on Amazon? You're suggesting we contact them to add additional categories. What's the limit? So the limit is 10 categories for ebooks, 10 categories for print books. But there are some exceptions to that, which are, it's complicated, so I would go into it in the course. There's like Kindle short reads categories, there's keyword categories, there's other categories you can add in as well. All in all, if you take all the child categories you can rank for ebook, for print and audio, and all the parent categories you can rank for, I mean, some of our books rank for anywhere between 50 to 100 different categories. So it's possible to have your book ranking on up to like 100 different bookshelves, which means there's 100 different places on Amazon where readers can go to find your book. Will these slides be available for download? We can do that. If you want, just email us and we can give you a copy of the slides. Oh, and by the way, if you guys have any questions about checking out or the course or anything like that, just email support@tskpublishing.com. It's just support@tskpublishing.com, and our team will give you everything you need.
Cool. So yeah, if you've got any questions, type them in now while you have the chance, because while you've got Tom on the line, as it were. Huggy says, thanks TCK. I just ordered Ranking Pro. Look forward to using it and learning. So that's great. Well done, Huggy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to working with you.
And I want to, just while we're waiting to see if there's any like final questions come in, I really want to pick up on what Tom just said about that 80-20 principle. You know, if you're on my list, you know I'm a big fan of 80-20 principle. It's so powerful. And, you know, that feedback loop that Tom was talking about effectively, where you start to get your book doing well, that creates feedback. Amazon picks up on that, starts promoting your book, which, you know, it's really, really powerful. And that's why when you look at book sale distribution, you know, there's a number of books that are towards the top end of the distribution chart that are making most of the sales. And, you know, you don't have to be up there with J.K. Rowling or Stephen King to be making a fantastic living through your books on Amazon. But this is the kind of stuff that gets your book in that direction, gets your book up to the kind of the top end of that, the long tail that we call it, is we could talk about a long tail distribution. So these are the kind of things which make a huge difference and then create that positive feedback. And as Tom will tell you, that feedback, that feedback loop, which generates those long-term organic sales, that keeps your book making sales and making royalties for months and months and months, which become years and years and years. So you're getting the benefits of that book sort of in perpetuity, rather than just, I mean, I'm a big fan of launches. Launches are fantastic, but you want the long-term benefit as well. Not just that. Yes, you want that spike that gets you up the charts, but you also want the long-term beneficial effects as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, you know, when you have your book ranking in so many different bookshelves, it's just so many more opportunities for readers to find your book, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. And that's what distribution is. Like, that's why publishers pay thousands and thousands of dollars to have their books on the front of a bookshelf on Amazon, because that's how they make their money, right? If you look at the traditional publishing model, they don't make their sales from marketing. They make their sales from distribution, right? If you look at any traditional publisher, they do very little marketing for books. They do very little PR, very little publicity, very little promotion. They just get distribution, right? That's what they spend all their money and time on. They just know if they get a good book and put it on the right bookshelf, at the top of that bookshelf, people will buy it, right? And that's exactly how Amazon works. And you can't pay for those spots though, right? You have to find those spots. You have to do the research. You have to, you know, and that's why the software is so amazing, because it helps you find all those spots that publishers would pay thousands of dollars for if they could, but they can't. So you just have to find them and then get your book listed in those categories. And, you know, it sounds so simple. It sounds so easy. And it really is if you use the software. But if you think about the psychology behind it, why it works, like that's why it works, because you're getting your book in front of readers who are looking for books like yours. And that's what the whole publishing business is about distribution, getting your book on the right place at the right time in front of the right reader. And if you do that, you will be so much more successful than you would if you try to do something else, right? And that's why I see so many authors fail, is because they just don't have distribution, right? If you think you can just put your book on Amazon and walk away and everything's going to be great for you, it's just not how it works. You have to have a distribution. That means picking the right categories.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, you see this in stores where the big publishers are paying a ton of money to get their book on a stand at the front of the store or by the point of sale and so on.
Yeah, so the email address again for support is support@tskpublishing.com. It's support@tskpublishing.com. And if you're ready to go ahead and get started, just go to tckpublishing.com/John to get started and join Bestseller Ranking Pro. And okay, so last call for questions. I see a few more just came in. Mary Jane says, a little bit off topic, but what are your thoughts on perma-free books versus paid books? So when I look at the data, perma-free books don't actually help you sell more books unless you have at least 7 books published in the same genre. So if you have 7 romance novels and one of them is free, that'll probably be a good deal for you, especially if those books are in a series. But if not, then you're probably losing money. And that's what the data is showing on average. There are other benefits to doing a perma-free book, like building your email list. So it depends on your business model. But if your plan is to earn your money from royalties and book sales, then perma-free does not make any sense until you have at least 7 books in one genre published.
Okay, I mean, that looks like it for questions, unless any come in the next few seconds. So Tom, once again, I just want to say big thank you for coming on here and sharing all of this with us. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you so much, John, for your support and inviting me here tonight. And thank you all for showing up and being so willing to learn and for your great questions. And I wish you, great success in your career and hope this has been helpful for you. And look forward to working with you more. And yeah, if you guys have any questions about how to check out, signing up, logging in, any issues whatsoever, just email our support team at support@tckpublishing.com.
So Mary Jane says thanks, and she's sending a list of 10 categories, I'm sure, rather than 10 cats, presumably, to Amazon to rank them. So great. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Tom. Cheers.